Yeah, and it's spelled with a K.
It's a whole deal.
Like Christian Avocado.
What?
Exactly.
You know, and if you're dumping on my lawn, I'm just gonna give it to the police. Fuck you, you're taking shits on my lawn, man. So I'm not fucking causing a scene because it's too early to cause a scene. Like, I'm not gonna do that. It's way too early to be yelling in the streets.
Action.
Shit. What do I usually thank you for joining us? It's been a while. I was sitting here thinking, like, what do I even say? So thank you for joining us, Salt of the Streets, episode 55 pre-show. I'm Donovan.
I'm Colin.
Again, thank you for joining. It's gonna be a fantastic show. We have lots to talk about. It's gonna be amazing. Last week we had some technical difficulties because my internet fuck wave. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Fuck wave.
Shots fired.
We were having some issues last week, and I didn't have any time to research. Didn't have any fucking internet to research or any cable to even watch any fucking bullshit news. So it was a whole deal. But we're back. We're banging. It's amazing. On the way here, I saw a peacock in someone's driveway. Like I was like, what the fuck?
That's like a thing that happens around here.
And I wasn't sure at first, you know, it was something that I really had to, like, and I didn't have time to double take because I was like, it's on the highway, but, I did notice. Thank you, Grandma, for joining us. I have one more thing that I have to talk about, especially because Grandma's here, right?
Okay.
So there's this fuckhead that lives across the street. Before we continue, Facebook, Salt of the Streets. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, this is the Facebook. All these videos, they go onto YouTube afterwards. We have our own personal social medias. I am at alpaca_Donovan on Instagram and Salt of the Street on Twitter. He is at Big Bird Offie on both of those things. Salt of the Streets on YouTube, Salt of the Streets on Facebook, saltofthestreets.com for absolutely everything. Blog posts, episodes come out on Monday. Okay, so there's this fuckhead that lives across the street. And he brings his dog over into our yard, not into the gated part, right? But, you know, in the part that you park in, he brings his dog over there and like lets him piss and shit, right?
Oh.
And so I may or may not have discussed this with you before. Okay.
I don't think so.
And so this has been going on for probably 2 years, and Jordan didn't want me to go over there to his house to say anything. And so she made signs to put up on the fence instead that said, like, please pick up after your dog. Because other people, when they walk their dogs, they'll poop and they'll pick it up and then they'll walk by. And that's awesome. Like, I totally don't care, you know? It's also important to know, so Jordan's grandma has like those tiny little dogs that really are pretty annoying, but we all love them.
All little dogs are like that, though.
So this guy has a baby, and it's like a toddler now, but at the time it was a baby because this was like the beginning event, right? So he came over one evening to the top of the cement stairs, right? So like at the edge of the fence, not even to grandma's door, and is screaming, baby in arm, about how loud her dogs are. Oh. And like how much they bark and how annoying it is, and your dogs are always out here barking and it's bullshit. Baby in arm, right? Screaming at Jordan's grandma. So Jordan's grandma doesn't say anything until like the next day to me. So Jordan's right there. And I'm like, so I'm going to go over and talk to this guy. And they're like, no, it's too long. Like, it's been too late, blah, 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 right? So then he starts to let his dog piss and shit in the yard, right? And we would see him sometimes. Like, I would come out of our house to, like, go and take the trash down or whatever, and he would be in our yard and see me, and then he would fucking take his dog across the street and then go into his yard. So he's fucking gone, right? Jordan doesn't want me to go over to his house to say anything. So on Thursday morning, I'm taking my trash down to, you know, in the morning to do all the shit, right? And his dog, he's got his dog on the leash in our yard, like, as I'm taking my trash down. And so he sees my car and goes to walk across the street, and I get out of my car and he's like, oh, hey, good morning, man. And I said, you have your own yard, right? And he said, what? And I said, you have your own yard, right? He said, oh, well, he's just peeing over there. And I said, but you have your own yard, right? Because this guy has a yard that's bigger than ours because he has a double lot that backs up to the other side of the street, like on the other block. Oh, fucking enormous yard, right? For some reason, doesn't take his fucking dog in the yard. So
he's like, well, I walk there. So that's my yard.
So he's like, well, he's just peeing over there. And I was like, word, like, for sure, man. And so I fucking put the trash in the can, and he's just, so do you yell at all the cats in the neighborhood? I said, no, they're fucking feral cats. So you're walking your dog on a leash into my yard to go to the bathroom. And it's like, oh, okay, man. All right. and just like fucking goes into his own yard. Like, am I an asshole? Am I an asshole because you have your own fucking yard and for some reason you feel the need to come into my yard after having screamed at our grandma? Like, am I an asshole for that? Because that seems totally reasonable.
No,
you know, because
you are
right
not
off the
an
bat,
asshole for that.
It's different if you're walking through the neighborhood, you know, when your dog stops in the yard, needs to be. I don't give a fuck. You live across the street, have your own fucking yard, and for some fucking reason, take your dog on a leash across the street into my yard to piss and shit and then go back home. Why?
That's just a dick move.
Your yard is fucking fenced in the back. Just let your dog out. Just put your dog outside.
But see, then he has to clean up after his own dog.
Like, what the fuck? You know? So, like, the couple of times that I've come home after that, I've driven up past the front of the house just to make sure that this guy isn't fucking, because he'll have his kids bring the dog over into our yard. Like, so it's not just him. He's like teaching his children, like, take the dog into someone else's yard to piss and shit, and don't worry about cleaning it up. Just leave it there. And we won't say anything. We won't fucking do anything. But when this guy goes to mow his yard, he's going to step in all kinds of shit and he's going to fuck up his lawnmower because he's just picking up dog shit. So he's a grown-ass man, you know, like a grown fucking man. And I'm just so confused by it. Like,
this sounds like a ongoing feud that happens in a lot of like sitcoms and stuff.
And so I come to work and I'm telling, and the thing, I go to work so fucking early. So it's 5:45 when I'm talking to the student street. And I'm not yelling. I'm speaking to you louder now than I'm speaking to this man in the street, right? So I'm not fucking causing a scene because it's too early to cause a scene. Like, I'm not going to do that. It's way too early to be yelling in the streets.
Way too early.
So I come to work and I'm all types of fucking spun up and I'm telling Casey about it. And I'm like, and part of the reason I'm mad is because I feel like an old man. Like, this is like a fucking retired person thing to be mad about. Like, oh, there's a fucking guy that brings his dog into my yard to piss and shit. Like, I'm 24. I shouldn't care about this, but this guy's a fucking dick and he's bringing his dog into my yard and he's fucking around and he knows that I don't want him there because he's seen me and he will fucking skirt back into his own yard. Like, so you know that I don't want you here and you're doing it anyway. And when I fucking caught you in the morning, you're just like, what's up, dog? Fuck you, man. Get in your own yard. Like, that doesn't seem weird to me. And it just seems strange that he was coming to me like I was being an asshole. You know, like I'm being a dick for...
The problem is you're thinking this through logically. And, you know, being someone who, you know, consistently takes their dog and teaches their kid to take their dog over to your neighbor's yard to go do his business... probably isn't going to be thinking in a semi-logical fashion.
It's so weird.
Yeah, know? That's so stupid.
So now I'm just hoping that, I don't know. I told Jordan that, so this guy's kind of stupid, right? And I get, I don't know.
Obviously.
If he's watching, then fuck you. I appreciate you being here, but fuck you. And so I told Jordan, I was like, now I feel like I need to like buy like a cheap like drop cam to put up by the front door because this guy might take a shit on my front lawn, you know? And she's like, well, that's crazy. Why would you do that? And I said, no. I said, I've heard no less than 10 stories in the last 2 years of people taking shits in parks or like I told her, I said, there was a guy in New Jersey who was a principal of a school shitting on the track of an opposing school every day for like a month.
Yep. And then he got caught.
Like, and this guy got called out in the street. So why would he not take a shit on my lawn when he thinks I'm not going to be there? Because he's willing to let his dog take a shit there, you know?
Well, you know, there's steps we can take if that does happen.
Right. Because if he dunks on my lawn, right? Like, I'm not going to do it back because I'm a fucking grown man. Like, I'm above that shit. But I'm certainly not going to not do anything, you know? And if you're dumping on my lawn, I'm just going to give it to the police. Fuck you. You're taking shits on my lawn, man. I know. What are you going to say? Like, you can't do that. I don't know. Which
let's just hope
feels extreme to me. But like, what else do you do?
Let's just hope it doesn't escalate to that point.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, I would really hope that threshold, the level, the jump in intensity level from taking your dog to go do his business to him doing it. I'm thinking that might be that's a long step to make.
Something really radical's got to happen for that. I hope so.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you talking to him at 5:45 in the morning might have pushed him over the edge. But we can only wait and see.
I was hoping that I like never had to say anything, and then every time that happened, I would be like, "That's some weak shit." Like I don't like that's some avoidance shit. Like I should like go over there and say something, you know. And I would say that to Jordan, she's like, "No, like don't do that because it would be fucking weird and random if you like just go over there." And I'm like, "But not really because he does it all the time, so he knows, you know, like he knows why I'm there." So, but this day, I don't know. I had like a fine morning, like nothing even bad happened. I just when I saw him, I was like, this motherfucker. Like I was just like, that's it. Like I'm fucking done with this for today. So
oh, that's awesome.
It was
Well, I'm sorry you have to deal with that, Don.
That's all right.
That's what happens when you have, you know, close proximity neighbors.
Do you ever feud with your grandparents like I do with this guy across the street?
No. I know the rules.
Bring their dog to shit in your yard or anything?
No, definitely not. And I train my dog to go do her business in a certain particular area that is on no one's property. It's in public right of way, actually, or it's an easement, not public right of way, but it's an easement, and that's totally legitimate. It's totally legal. It's
totally legitimate, totally legal. That's where your dogs go. That's when they go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you know, like right out front, there's like that thing. Yeah, that's the wasteland of. Yeah, nobody wants to be over in that situation,
right?
But it's nobody walks over there because what are you doing walking in the mud next to the driveway? I mean, that's silly. So it's safe.
That makes sense.
But I mean, I could just let my dog down to the neighbors and go down there and take care of her business. Yard. But I mean, why would I want to do that? That's just me.
Do you think you would say something?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I would think so.
Yeah.
I've never had to deal with it because I think that we are responsible dog owners who try to do the best thing to not infringe on our neighbors' property rights, and you know. But that's a serious issue for me because that's your property.
That's, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, why are you in my yard at all? Like, that's how I felt about it.
Technically, it's trespassing. I'm gonna do a little work at work to see exactly. Maybe I can come over there and show you
exactly where my.
We'll talk off cast. We'll talk off
cast. Oh my god, I love that. Do you ever conduct your own private social experiments? Like, okay, so let me give you an example. So, Kyle that I work with, left-handed, not by his own choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you shake his hand, you shake with your left hand, right?
Yeah.
I forget every fucking time, even though I work with him every day for the last 4 years.
It's
right?
muscle memory.
So one day, and I never carried through with this, but at the time I just thought it was so fucking funny, and that's why I said it. So I told Kyle, I was like, every Friday when your dad gives me my paycheck, I shake his hand. You know, I'm like, hey, thanks, you know, whatever. So I'm gonna start shaking his left hand to see like what he does, you know. Not once did I ever do it because I obviously fucking forgot about it the next time, but I intended to. Do you ever do anything like that? Actually follow through with it, you know? Just tiny things like I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start saying this thing and see if anybody notices.
I don't think so. Consciously. I mean, maybe unconsciously. I don't know what I would do. Usually I'm just trying to make sure the people I interact with on an everyday basis, like I don't lose my shit, go off the handle and end up yelling at somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to look and see. I mean, you know, I have a relatively 112% conspiracy minded individual that I work with.
Yeah.
And sometimes I will come in and just literally poke the bear. I mean, that might be something, you know.
I think you know
what? Flat Earth is such bullshit.
Just to see like what he's
just to see where it goes, because then within 30 seconds it spirals out of control, and then I'm hearing about everything. Because it turns out all the conspiracies are tied together.
Oh,
to a common conspiracy.
The reptilian elite, man. It's they're the ones that
interdimensional vampires.
Yeah.
You know, real Alex Jones type stuff. It goes deep.
So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff this week, obviously. We're going to talk about some immigration. We're going to talk Kirstjen Nielsen, who I didn't realize until I was reading articles that her name has a J in it.
Yeah, and it's spelled with a K.
It's a whole deal.
Like Christian Avocado.
What?
Exactly.
Who's that?
That's a character from the Expanse series, book series, TV series.
All right. Well, if anybody gets that before he says that, I'll give you a free T-shirt because holy shit,
bro. That's a deep cut.
Yeah. So, so talk some Bill Barr testimony, some Robert Mueller updates. Earlier this week, President Trump was talking about he was considering closing the border, right? Mm-hmm. And so a whole slew of articles came out about what might happen, if the border closes. And one of the things is like the avocados, right? That people flipping shit that like within a month or whatever, we're going to be out of avocados. So
yep.
I don't like avocados. And I don't even want to get too far into that because my problem is not the shortage of avocados, right? My problem is that, and I think you know where I'm going with this. My problem is that we're existing in a world where it takes a shortage of avocados to get people to give a fuck at all about like children being separated from their parents, and avocado shortages is what it takes for people to give a shit about any type of immigration reform or change or anything like that,
Oh yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? A fucking avocado. Like, that's the problem here. Not the fact that we can't build any cars if the border closes, or that people can't come home or anything like this. It's the fact that avocados would run out. That's the thing. Because I saw more avocado articles than any other type of article of any kind, because every news source had an article about an avocado. You know why?
It's because avocados have become so, thanks to the millennial generation. They have put the avocado on such a pedestal that, and I'm not going to even argue that it's not rightfully on that pedestal, because it's a superfood. It is. It took me a long time to kind of like learn how to like them. Yeah. But now I like them. I dig them, and I blame my wife who's sitting behind the camera over there for. Oh, I'm sure
she's all into that shit.
But it's a legitimate thing. But the focus on the avocados, because it is a direct touch to like a lot of people's individual lives. Right. And so this is the one aspect of immigration that a millennial up in Seattle will deal with because of the border closure. And, he's not going to run out and buy a new car every other day. So he may miss that problem with the cars.
But he's buying a dozen avocados on every Sunday.
Every week. Every week. Absolutely. And so that would possibly, hit his paycheck, his wallet, whatever, his or her.
They'll have more money though.
No, because they have to have the avocados. So even if they're $30 a dozen, they're still going to buy them.
Black market avocados.
Exactly. We're going to get them giant, big old things from California that are like fake avocados.
The GMO avocados.
Yeah, they're like a different subspecies, aren't they? The California avocado compared to like the Hass avocado.
Really?
It's, the smaller, darker, super bumpy ones. And then there's like the bigger ones that have a slightly smoother, shinier skin. Yeah, that's what my life in food service has been all about.
Well, no, I don't. I'm sure that's a common thing, but I don't like avocados, so I don't buy them regularly. So that's not. I bet that the people watching here are like, Don, you're a fucking idiot. Who doesn't know the difference between a fucking California avocado and a Hass avocado?
It's 2019. You are a terrible millennial.
I'm in the minority that I don't like avocados. So don't base it off of me,
man,
right?
It's hilarious. I think we were having a texting conversation with Morgan about this whole thing, and she was worried.
And I didn't want to let on too much that I was frustrated about it, because I knew that she was like, this is like, because I know that she gives a fuck, so that doesn't apply to her. But she was also genuinely concerned about the avocados. And so I didn't want to, I'm trying to be better about that, So I don't know. Well, let me finish one of those sentences, because that was about 4 of them. I am doing a lot of changing as a person. I don't know that growing would be the right term, but changing. And that's one of those things, is trying to be more selective about the things that I do and don't say. Okay. I always think before I speak, but I think that there's some stuff that is better left unsaid that so I'm trying to be more selective about that.
As long as you're not crossing that realm into self-censorship.
No, because I knew I would talk about it, because I knew I was going to talk about the avocados. That just wasn't the time.
Time and a place, baby.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. That just wasn't the time.
That's awesome.
So I also heard within the last 2 weeks that New York is doing something that's called congestion pricing.
Yes.
Right? And so they're going to be charging people for driving. There's a new tax, and they're talking about possible $1 billion.
Yeah,
and I think it's going to go towards subways.
Everything south of 18th Street, I believe.
Yes,
so essentially, you're looking at downtown Manhattan, and this is something that apparently the vast majority of people that live in the city actually do support.
Really? Most of them don't drive, right? Like,
most of them don't drive, and then the people that that also support that are people that commute from, say, New Jersey and stuff, because they would much rather pay an extra fee to be able to actually drive to work versus have to take 2 hours worth of public transportation to come into the cities. So there's actually some very interesting support for that, which is because I'm very heavily tied to New York City.
That's why I wanted to ask you about it.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan at all, but I don't actually live in the city anymore, and so I don't have a dog in that fight. And if they feel they want to do that to help fund the broken MTA, then that's fine.
Did you ever live in the city?
Not in Manhattan, no.
No.
But Staten Island is technically a borough.
Yes.
And then
Brian Quinn certainly would say that.
Indeed, he would. The Situation, I believe, from Jersey Shore.
A lot of those people from Jersey Shore. Do you remember when I was watching Jersey Shore? Wasn't that fucked up? That was horrible.
Hey, it's a dark time in your past.
A lot of those people are from Staten Island or live in Staten Island.
Yeah,
which
Staten
I thought was
Island,
interesting.
Long Island, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Most of them don't actually come from Jersey.
But they're fucking Guidos, so don't you question that. That's
110%. Which BT dubs, if you don't understand it, Guido technically is like a derogatory slur. But in today's connotation, it's basically you're just one of those heavily Italian New Yorkers. If you're an older guy, you usually walk around in a white wife beater, heavily overweight, big gold chain around your neck, and that's kind of like your everyday going out clothes.
Yeah, but they're taking it back though.
Yes, they're owning it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Clerks 2?
No.
Okay.
I saw the first Clerks, but that was a long time ago.
Well,
Clerks 2 is supposed to be like a whole nother level of production and stuff too.
It was, yeah. And they're actually, Kevin Smith is currently filming a Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
I've heard
which
that.
We're all going to have to go and see in theaters together because
I'm
going to have to bring extra panties. It's going to be a whole deal. It's going to be great. So, because on the last episode of Tell 'em Steve Dave, Brian and Walt reprise their roles as Steve, Dave, and Fanboy. Brian Quinn is in there, so I'm sure in some instance, 50-year-old Walter Flanagan is going to say, Tell 'em Steve Dave, which is just, I'm going to be like, it's going to be good. So, it's going to be fantastic. I'm really excited about that. But there's a
first time in your life, a man's going to make you climax in your pants.
Yeah, it's going to be really uncomfortable. So I might have to just sit away from you guys, like at least for that part of it. But it'll be all right.
So anyways,
yes,
immigration.
no. So there's a part of Clerks 2 that I don't know that I necessarily. Fuck it. This is what we're doing. We're free speeching it. I'm just gonna go for it. So one of the guys who works behind the counter he's throwing around all types of obscenities, and there's like two black people that are there that are purchased. I'm so sorry for.
Does he drop the N-bomb?
He says something about a porch monkey. While these two black people are staying there, and he's like, what? Like, I don't he doesn't understand like why it's racist, because he's like, my grandma used to call me a porch monkey all the time. Like, I don't understand. And it's like, he decides he's bringing it back. He's like, he's fucking white, it's Randall. So I'm bringing it back. And so he takes masking tape and puts porch monkey for life on the back of his uniform at work. And he's like wearing that for the rest of the film. You should invest time to watch
Which character
Clerks,
is
dude.
this?
This is Randall. So of the two people that work in the store at Clerks, right, there's the one who has black hair, who is Dante, and then Randall, who wears the hat backwards. Oh. So this is Randall. So,
wow.
It's fantastic. I also
I'm so glad that's not happening in real life.
It's a bad deal.
That.
Jordan's friend Kaylee and her boyfriend Scott came over this week, and they hung out for a little while. And Scott expressed interest in watching Tusk, and I was watching the baby, I was holding the baby, and it was like everything that I could do not to be like, oh, Scott, you gotta fucking watch Tusk. And he like only kind of vaguely knew what it was about, and Kaylee is the type of person where she can't even like see blood from a human, but for some reason could work at an animal clinic and fucking cut dogs up and shit and do whatever, and it like wasn't a problem, you know. But if you see like a human's blood, she will literally pass out. And so,
I know somebody like that. So
I'm like, Kaylee, you probably shouldn't watch this movie because a man is surgically turned into a walrus. Scott, on the other hand, you have to watch this movie. Like you have to. And
my mind's starting to run. Like, can she watch any violence on TV then? Or is it like, if it's on TV, it has to be gratuitous?
She watched me, without going too deep into detail and incriminating myself, she watched me partake in a recreational drug one time that was not cannabis, and watched me, like didn't take part, was just in the room with me, and became lightheaded and needed to go to another room.
Wow.
Which I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you are not even, like, you're not touching it. You're not like, it was very strange, but
yeah, I got a friend of mine who, if you scratch yourself, like paper cut, and you just get the little droplets of blood that come up, he will get lightheaded over that.
That's so weird.
Possibly pass out.
Like, how does that happen? What is that?
Just like a phobia type thing. You know, it's
what are you guys afraid of? I would love to hear what anybody's. So I think I'm telling you my irrational fear, domesticated birds. Like, I don't fuck with people having birds in their house. And like a small bird, like a parakeet, is not like a problem, you know, like a little one.
Like a parrot?
Yeah. So when I was delivering mattresses, we delivered to a guy's house who once owned a gray parrot, right? And a gray parrot's fucking huge. It's a big fucking bird. And he had like a cage built on his wall. It was like the width of his wall, like this wall here. And there was a cage built onto it, but his bird wasn't in it. It was on top of it. And you had to walk past it to put the mattress in this room.
Oh,
and the bird is standing up there just screaming. No, just screaming. And so we would always go in to like scope it out beforehand just to see like, you know, where we put the mattress, whatever, and like decide how we're going to do it. And we walked past it, and I didn't walk past it when Daryl went into the room. So that's the guy I was delivering with. He's this huge. He played semi-pro football, was this huge fucking offensive lineman, enormous guy. And, when we went back out tonight, I told him, I was like, I don't know. I can't do it, dude. Like, I can't walk past that fucking bird. Like, that scares the shit out of me. Like, I don't know what to do. And so when we carried the mattress, I kept my head tucked on this side of the mattress and just like separated myself. And then we walked back out. Daryl walked in between me and the bird so that I didn't have to like nothing. So do you have anything like that?
Snakes. Same way. Dude, I will pee my pants.
Yeah.
Snakes are like my worst nemesis.
Jordan's stepdad is
the only good snake way. Is a dead snake.
Yeah.
Although I did do that thing like when I was in elementary school, I want to say. Might have been junior high. We had like the reptile man come for an assembly, you know?
Yes.
And he had the big albino, you know, boa constrictor that he brought. And I faced my fears, and I did this whole thing where I went and I had a picture taken with the snake around me, and I was legit. It didn't try to kill me. But I saw a picture of that 17-foot python they found in Florida last week. Did you see that? That terrifies me. That can eat you, bro. I'm like, anaconda's coming to life. That kind of stuff is terrifying.
Do you remember that he had the alligator that like would pretend to fall asleep? Do you remember that? It was like a small alligator.
Yeah.
And
you like put him upside down or
and he would do like whenever rub its chin or something like that, and its head would drop back and he would like pretend to fall asleep. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Same guy. One of the same.
It's kind of like those dudes that do that to sharks underneath the water. You flip them upside down and it screws with all their chemistry and like, okay, I'm going
to sleep. They could die, right? An orca whale will kill a shark like that, right? Just flip it upside down and keep it like that. That's
they do that, and I think they eventually drown because they like quit breathing the right way or something.
Because a shark like has to move, right?
Yeah, because you got to pass air or water through the gills,
right,
to collect the oxygen that's in the water.
Can I ask you some? Let me ask you something strange. So,
can I ask you something?
Do you know any interesting facts about octopus?
I don't know if there's so much interesting.
Anything past,
like I know they're
beaconing. You know, anything past a beaconing.
Wicked smart.
Mm-hmm.
They're insanely good problem solvers. They can squeeze themselves down through a hole the size of their beak.
Yeah. Okay. So that's perfect. So 2 weeks ago.
I guess I gave the right answer. I don't know.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Michael, everybody for joining us. It's fantastic. This is amazing.
Welcome.
2 weeks ago, I don't know how the fuck this came up, right? But we were at work, the boys, and I had to be Casey said something to Spencer about an octopus can fit through a keyhole, right? Because it just has to be able to fit its beak through whatever, and then it can go through it. And Spencer's like, that's bullshit and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, no. Like an octopus, fucking change color and like all this stuff. And Tyler was like, yeah, no, that's true. And octopus and said something else. So Spencer started to try to make fun of us because we knew shit about octopus. And he was like, that's weird. Like, that's not weird that I don't know that, because it's weird that you guys know that and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, no, fuck that, because octopus is mad interesting. Like, they're super duper interesting.
They're basically aliens.
So to fuck on Spencer, we started asking people as they came in, like, hey, what do you know about octopus, right? So the first person to come in was fucking new Dan, the cutter, like Cecile's son-in-law, what the fuck ever. And so he was over there and super quiet, almost never talks to anybody. Like, you've got to ask him a question for him to speak to you. And so we're like, Dan, what do you know about octopus? And it's like, oh, well, they can fucking fit through a keyhole and fucking all this shit, and starts rattling off all this shit about octopus. And I said, fuck you, Spencer, because that is totally normal. And he was like, yeah, they have, a totally like unique type of DNA. And so there's some people that theorize that octopus are like the first aliens or some shit like that. And I told Spencer, I said, I saw a video of an octopus that climbed out of its own tank to get into another tank to eat fish and then went back into its own tank. What the fuck is that?
They're stupid smart, man. So when I went to school, we had a marine biology class that you can take. It was down. So in Paulsbo, right? Because there used to just be the one North Kitsap High School. And down the street, down on the waterfront, there is a marine science center. And that's where they would have marine biology. But they had one of the greater Northwestern, giant octopus or whatever they have there. And he's in like this multiple chamber tank. And some of the holes are like, tiny. He gets right through them. No problem.
Like how?
They're stupid smart, man.
Some of that stuff makes me uncomfortable, Like, I really enjoy watching Planet Earth and shit like that, Which I don't know if you saw, but earlier this week I was watching. Oh my God, that was fantastic.
Hanging out with your son and introducing him to Planet Earth.
I was trying to calm down. He was like really upset. It's starting to get late, so he was starting to get tired, but it wasn't like close enough for him to eat, so he couldn't go to bed yet. And so I was holding him, and I was like, I'm just going to put something on that I can watch, but he's also starting to watch TV. And so you have to like hold him in a way that he can't crane his neck to like see the TV, because he can't see everything that's on it, but we have got a fucking huge TV, and our living room is so small that he can just see the whole deal. It's just like, oh my God. So you've got to hold him in such a manner that he can't see the TV. So I turned on just fucking Planet Earth to watch something, and he's fussing and fussing. I'm like, dude, I've been standing all day. It's Thursday, like I've been standing fucking 4 days now. I can't do this shit. So I sat down, and he knows the difference now between sitting and standing, and wants to be standing all the time, not sitting down. And so if you sit down, he'll cry even more. So I just turned him around, and he fucking instantly,
it's like, ooh,
just quieted down. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. It's like, because I don't really want him to watch TV all the time, but for right now, if this is what it's going to be, just for like 10 minutes. So we were waiting for Jordan to take a shower so he could take a bath. Mm-hmm. 15 minutes at the most. That's all it had to be. And he was just freaking the fuck out. And so I sat down, and he was totally cool. And the dog came over and sat, and the dog loves to watch fucking Planet Earth, because the TV and everything, and so she was watching it and he was watching it. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is fantastic that this is working this way.
That is so
And
great.
then she got closer, and he, I put his hand out, and he was just kind of doing this. And like just kind of petting the dog a little bit. And I was like, this is perfect. Like, this is fantastic. Yeah, it was awesome.
In the grand scheme of things that you can plop your son in front of the TV to watch, Planet Earth is probably the best thing you can do.
And that's how I, like, at the end, I was like, also, it's fucking Planet Earth. Like, it's David Attenborough talking about some really educational shit that if anything he should be watching, it's Planet Earth.
Absolutely.
So I felt the same way, that if he's going to watch anything, Planet Earth is a safer way to go rather than fucking like The League or I don't know, some shit like that.
The Office,
the Tusk, some fucked up shit that I'm trying to watch. Like it's, of all things, like that's Planet Earth is probably the best. So
yeah.
I know I feel good about that. So
I like it.
Unless you have anything else that you want to rack into this pre-show, we've been going for a while, so I think
we should probably cut it off.
This is killing it. We're killing it. I'm so sorry. Drink this whole beer, so
it's too much fun to sit here and do this pre-show.
Yes,
it really is.
Yeah,
this is why we need your support to make sure that we can do this every day.
Yes, and if you like all the little random things that we talk about, support so we can do it, that would be fantastic. If you like all the little random things that we talk about, I'm taking suggestions all the time, because these are the perfect little burner topics that maybe aren't something that you want to hear 30 minutes about, but you want to hear fucking us rip about 5 minutes. Send that to me, because that's what I'm writing down here. A lot of these little paper notes is opening stuff. So any of that random stuff you want to hear us talk about and maybe not have that much information about, this is the time to do it. I just want to thank everybody on here, because this has been a great pre-show, and I want to thank everybody one more time for joining us on the Salt of the Streets Facebook. Again, we have our own personal social medias. I am at Salt of the Street on Twitter and alpaca_Donovan on Instagram. He's at Big Bird Offie on both of those things. Excuse me. We also have Salt of the Streets YouTube, saltofthestreets.com. You can find everything. Our podcast is absolutely everywhere you can find a podcast. And that's it.
Boom.
You can find this on Monday. Thank you. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Peace.